Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what if most of who you think you are isn't actually you? Not your fears, not your limits, not even many of your beliefs. What if they were simply patterns built into you over time? Ideas you absorbed from childhood, repeated so often that eventually you started calling them your personality. From the moment you entered this world, your reality was being shaped by family, by school, by society, by the opinions of people who came before you. You weren't just taught how the world works. You were taught who you were supposed to be inside of it. Be careful. Don't dream too big. Play it safe. Be realistic. Don't embarrass yourself. And at first, it sounds like protection, like guidance, like love. But many times, it's fear being passed down. A child is not born believing they are not enough. A child is not born thinking greatness is for other people. A child is not born ashamed of wanting more. That comes later. Think about it. A kid is loud, expressive, ambitious. And what do they often hear? Sit down. Be quiet. Stop showing off. Don't be too much. So little by little, they begin to shrink. They start learning that being accepted is safer than being authentic. Then school reinforces it. Most people are not taught to understand themselves. They are taught to obey, to fit in, to avoid mistakes, to seek approval. And eventually, many people grow up still living by the same invisible rule. How do I live in a way that gets me accepted? This is where so many people lose themselves, because instead of building a life that feels true, they build one that feels acceptable. And you can see it everywhere. People working jobs they hate, living for weekends, settling for relationships that drain them, silencing their real ambitions because they're afraid of judgment, wanting more, but doing nothing. Why? Because deep down, many are running on unconscious programming. Safety is more important than freedom. Don't take risks. What if I fail? What will people think? And the scariest part is, most people don't even realize it. They think, this is just who I am. But what if it isn't? What if the version of you that doubts yourself is actually a conditioned version of you? A version shaped by fear, embarrassment, rejection, and survival? Think about someone who wants to start a business, launch a channel, move to a new city, speak up, build something meaningful, and instantly their mind says, I'm not ready. I can't do that. What if I look stupid? People like me don't do things like that. But stop and ask yourself, who told you that? Did you decide that? Or did you inherit it? Maybe you watched your parents live in fear. Maybe school taught you mistakes were dangerous. Maybe society convinced you that being average is safer than being extraordinary. A lot of what you call your limits may simply be inherited fear. And until you question it, you will defend those limitations like they are part of your identity. That's why people often justify unhappy lives with phrases like, I'm just being realistic. Not everyone can succeed. Money changes people. Maybe this is enough. But often, that's not truth. That's fear, disguised as logic. Now here's the important part. Awareness is powerful, but awareness alone does not change your life. Real change begins when you stop waiting for permission. Permission from your parents, permission from society, permission from your friends, permission from people who never had the courage to live boldly themselves. Because if you spend your whole life waiting for someone else to believe in you first, you may never begin. And this is where your power returns. You start asking different questions. Is this fear actually mine? Is this belief true? Or was I taught this? That single shift can change everything, because once you realize that many of your thoughts are not facts, you stop obeying them automatically, and then you act, even if you're scared. Because believing in yourself does not mean you feel no fear. It means you move anyway. It means speaking, even when your voice shakes. It means trying, even when success isn't guaranteed. It means building, even when people doubt you. Because confidence is not something you wait for. Confidence is something you build by proving to yourself that fear does not control you. And yes, you have to stop listening to voices that constantly tell you who you should be. But even more importantly, you have to start listening to yourself, not your trauma, not your insecurity, not the old programming, your real self. What do you actually want? What kind of life feels true to you? What excites you? What calls you, even if it scares you? Because there comes a point where you have to choose. Will you keep living by other people's expectations? Or will you finally build your own life? Yes, people may doubt you. Yes, some may judge you. Yes, you will sometimes doubt yourself, but it is far better to fail while creating your own path than to succeed at living someone else's life. So how do you change? You question every limiting belief. You challenge fear. You take the step. You make mistakes. You learn. You keep going again and again and again, because growth is uncomfortable. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you are breaking beyond the version of you that was built by fear. You do not need to be fearless. You need to be willing to trust yourself, willing to outgrow old identities, willing to disappoint people who benefited from your smallness, willing to become who you were meant to be. So stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown. Stop betraying your dreams for approval. Stop living like you have unlimited time. This life is not a rehearsal. This is not practice. This moment matters. And in the end, everything comes down to one question. Will you continue living as the person fear created? Or will you become the person you truly are? Because the moment you stop living on autopilot, the moment you choose yourself, the moment you decide that your future will no longer be dictated by old fears, that is the moment your real life begins.